The Golgoth gods, the strongest, the smartest, the sexiest bosses in creation are not gonna be on the list because it would be just unfair then. Anyways, Castlevania Lords of Shadows 2 is one of the most video games out there, with some surprisingly solid bosses. Now, my main gripe with the bosses in this game is that there are a lot of them, and most of them aren't as fleshed out as others, and that pisses me off because if they just scrapped the idea of having 15 bosses and just focused on like half of them, the boss quality would have been amazing. But you know what, you guys didn't click on this video to hear my bitching, so let's just get on with the video. Number 15, Train Demon. 29 seconds is my second fastest boss kill. My fastest is 25, but that is nothing to write home about considering how bad this quote-unquote boss is. Why am I even treating this thing like a boss? It literally becomes a common enemy just as soon as you kill it. Number 14, Abaddon. Another boss that turns into a common enemy after you kill it, but this time around the enemies are infinitely better because they don't have this annoying ass mechanic of taking damage only in their weak spot. I actually started parrying this guy's attacks, and the only time I start parrying bosses in this game is when they are too easy and lack variety, or too hard. You can guess which one this hunk of crap is. Number 13, Carmilla. Before we get to the real fight, I thought I'd give some insight on the stealth session which comes before, and it's kinda easy. There I seemed like it was brain dead because I made a lot of mistakes and was not punished, unlike another one down the road. 5 was quite inconsistent in terms of difficulty and quality. The first phase is hard as nails, easily the hardest singular boss phase in the game, and it's really only the case because of the last ring on the ball. That sounded sexual, but this whole boss is sorta
do with me what you will. Now I am inside of you.
somebody got a lot of views because of that, not naming any names. Now in this game you gotta use all 3 of your weapons to the max in order to come out victorious. Use the Void Sword to free stuff and also get your health back. Use the Fisters to break shit you couldn't with normal weapons, and use the Whip to damage enemies and bosses to get orbs that refill both of the magic meters, enabling you to use them. Now that we've put down the ground rules, I can talk about why this boss is so low on the list. Carmilla expects you to keep on consistently punching your balls for a long ass time while 2 enemies are up your ass pretty much all the time, and the only way to damage her ball is by using your fisting weapons. If you do manage to destroy her ball, the fight turns into toddler difficulty as you can pretty much keep on sucking off your wife all you want to stay topped up while this bitch just watches.
Leave that filthy whore!
What are you gonna do about it, bitch? Even then it's quite enjoyable, the second phase at least, and Carmilla's character is a character, at least, instead of some cookie-cutter bullshit. So yeah, plus, let's see if the execution gave me any rules. Number 12, Keeper of the Void Sword. This one is just a really average golem fight with some really cool blood moves, but it's nothing out of the ordinary considering a quarter of the bosses can do blood oriented attacks. Hell, one is made out of blood, I think. More on that soon. Unlike Carmilla, there's nothing wrong with this boss. Yeah, like I had to fight him twice after beating him because of this stupid QTE, but I am to blame for playing this game on keyboard and mouse. Number 11, Alucard / Lieutenant / Lieutenant / Satan. At the start of the game, I presumed I'll fight all 3 separately as they were mentioned, especially Zobek's bitch, but he turned out to be my son, who is Alucard, now who got taken over by Satan. The amount of plot twist based around one dude, but hey, at least we got to fight him, and I have to say the boss wasn't bad, just generic. He had a cookie cutter knight moveset with the worst attack being with him throwing these rocks right in front of you. How do you dodge them? How does this make sense? It is quite disappointing as it could have been so much more, as in my opinion combat can do knight bosses, that's for sure, but it does gimmick giant type battles way better when they make use of every mechanic introduced while also providing spectacles. I'm talking from experience of the few Lords of Shadows 1 bosses I fought and the number 1 on the list, If you have played the game, you know who it is. Even though I've been harsh on this boss, it may have the best execution of all, as Dracul uses his 5000 IQ to pretty much scare the shit out of the emo band leader to leave Alucard's body and get fucked pretty much. By the way, not what I expected Satan to look like. Inner Dracul or whatever. God, this boss looks cool. This arena looks cool. It's all fucking blood. I love it. This boss is one of the early 2010s staple evil version of the main character boss archetype, like in The Force Unleashed, Darksiders, and Virgil from DMC. By the way, go watch that vid. Kinda trash, but watchable. In the start, I was genuinely excited to fight this dude because he had a lot of cool attacks to dodge, but he, or it I guess, obviously decides to do the shittiest attacks in his arsenal. If you start to piss blood as an attack, it would still be better than this one. After you deal with this pile of bodies, I think, Inner Dracul comes out and does nothing except vomit blood all over the place. Thankfully, you can finally do double jumps at like basically the end of the game. So use it wisely and not like a dumbass. I am talking about myself over here. So yeah, you pretty much have to go down the bodies again, then beat the shit out of yourself, and then somehow not be able to take the fucker down because he had a bee's dick amount of health left, which was definitely fair and fun, just so you can watch the bodies rise up again and give you a replay of the one move you absolutely despise. Still a cool fight, kind of filler but not very forgettable because of the stellar voice acting and visuals. Number 9, Satan's Daughter. That's her name. It's kind of fitting because by just their design they look like members of an emo band named Satan's Cult. The first Acolyte really doesn't have anything special about her, like it is one of the boss fights. The most pissy part about this boss is how quickly some of her attacks come out. Like this rush attack got me like a million times. Also, this one ground projectile attack, which I still have no idea how to dodge. I mean, it would have been pretty easy to dodge with double jump if they gave us that ability at a part of the game where it would have made a difference. Smaha. Also, this million stars attack did some very undeserved chip damage to me. But yeah, that's it. It's a really boring fight except for the exposed tits and the execution. Let's see if this vid gets age restricted. Number 8, Satan's Daughter. Before it was revealed she was Satan's daughter. This boss is really just like a fun 7 out of 10 boss fight. Like, you know, it doesn't try to break the world's hardest or best boss records. It just exists to give players a little shot of dopamine. Kinda hard to find bosses like that nowadays. Now don't mistakenly take what I said as this is a lazy fight. Nah man, it's got a lot going for it. Firstly, you have to use the Void Sword to slow her down. I don't know how ice counters lightning, Naruto did not teach me that, but it does work. Thank God Zobek doesn't keep this valuable detail to himself. Obviously people with common sense would have figured it out without any help, but some geniuses can't. Now the real fight begins. Satan's bitch starts doing normal slashing attacks, unblockable grabs, and drops these electric bombs which increase in quantity by a lot by the end.
You're such a disappointment.
That's what your dad said to you, and so did mine. They should not have opened that wound. And that's pretty much it. A simple as fuck boss, but it was still fun. Number 7, Zobek. This dude easily wins the competition for the coolest weapon. Being a death fanatic myself, that scythe may have given me way too many orgasms. Especially this. The worst part about this boss is that death of this spin-off series is fucking Zobek the businessman. I mean, I have nothing going against voice actor. Like, listen to this line. God damn, that was good. But Zobek doesn't fit the character well, you know. The scythe pretty much carries the fight. I mean, look at these moves. I am considering changing my PFP to this. Now this fight could have been way higher if my game did not glitch out and I didn't have to fight him again, because even though fighting the actual boss is pretty cool, when these fucks take center stage, that's annoying. And also on my first attempt, it took me way too long to figure out how to progress. But you just gotta act like the police and do what must be done with pleasure. Cool fight, cooler weapon. My god, why am I simping for this site so much? Number 6, Antler. Oh fuck. You know what? Let's just forget about the cell section. So whilst you're acting as your Viking son's lackey,
Can you find all the missing pieces for me, Father?
I'll try.
why am I doing errands for my son? I am Dracul, for fuck's sake. Anyways, this boss is really where I started thinking about the point I made in the beginning of the video. The Antler could have been so much more cooler if he had another phase where we had to platform around this beautiful area while he hunts us or we hunt him. How about that? Could have been so much more cooler. Or maybe you could have had a cool gimmick where, like Satan's daughter, to slow him down while he shows us some cool parkour moves in the arena. I don't know. Instead, we got this dude, which isn't bad by any means, but it could have been better. For example, he could have used the tornado moves from the second Acolyte fight. The Antler himself doesn't really lack anything. He has two weapons with completely different movesets and special attacks. Like for the spear, he leaps into the air and throws two spears at you, which will trigger a quick time event, and for the twin daggers, he can do these pretty cool wind moves, which would have been fun to dodge if he had double jump. Even with him being such a cool boss, I felt like I missed something. But he showed me everything that he could do, and there was this feeling inside that this could have been so much more, but alas, that was not the case. So yeah, the boss is good. It could have been godlike, but I'm sort of satisfied. And sad. Number 5, the Triple Gang. This fight is if ONS had another dude in the arena instead of pillars. This boss felt like an all-out brawl. Like anybody could hit you and you could pretty much hit anyone and still be able to damage the boss, because unlike ONS, they all have a shared health bar, which means you can't really choose who you want to have disappeared, so RNG is involved, which kind of ruins the fight somewhat, because I wasn't able to fight the spear guy at all. Now the main gimmick of this fight is that all three bosses have separate powers and abilities, maybe even speed, even though that doesn't matter because you can't really separate them. The sword guy has electric powers, which pretty much fucks you over if you use mist. The spear guy has wind powers, which he uses to create tornadoes, and the slightly overweight dude can pretty much hit hard as far as I know. Now if you kill one, or when the game kills one for you, the other absorbs his power. Purely RNG, let me remind you, and when you kill the second one, the last one absorbs both their powers and manages to do this.
This thirst for you knows no limits.
So yeah, by this point I don't know if it's RNG or if it's scripted. Tell me down in the comments if it is, cause then this boss goes down 2 spots. They fucking lied to us. Otherwise, cool concept. Number 4, Roseanne. Now the game started on a strong note, especially in terms of the bosses. Just listen to the voice acting for this dude.
God is with me, monster.
I will purge the world of your presence. The stench of your soul is disgusting. Die, monster! You don't belong in this world.
Look at this slick animation. I was generally expecting this dude to be a sort of rival character to Dracul, but yeah, that was not the case. Obviously, but that kinda tells you how good this guy is. After your scuffle here ends, he decides to pretty much hunt you, or in other words, bother you like a bug in the ass. I wouldn't know. By pretty much shooting these holy arrows at you while you platform. You even have to use the arrows to get through certain sections. After defeat the giant mecha, you gotta fight Roseanne for real, and this is a really good boss fight, mechanically especially. He does all sorts of attacks, like throwing his twin blade at you in different combinations, which can be dodged by either jumping or dodging, which got me a lot for some reason. He also uses his arrow attacks, which creates a situation of genuine pandemonium, and was a genius move made by the devs considering you had way too much experience with them. Also, the design of his armor looks immaculate to say the least. Now the main problem I had with this boss was his blocking. Pretty much I thought that the only way to break blocks in this game was to use the fisters, but no, it's done by the attacks in which you hold the first attack down and then form a different combo. This is hard to explain, but that's the gist of it. They could have at least given me another tip when I was wasting so much time doing no damage. So yeah, that's it. Beyond that, grade 5, 8.5 would have been maybe number 3 easily if that blocking incident didn't happen. Number 3, Toy Maker. Easily the most creative boss of the game and a genuinely fun one as well. This fight feels good to look at. You know, the animation, the colors, the voice acting, it's all very colorful and really separates the Toy Maker from others of his kind. My biggest gripes of this boss is that it doesn't last long enough. If they decided to give another boss moveset to one of the Toy Makers, well, toys, it could have been so cool, especially with this background, but alas. Now the Toy Maker has 4 phases, but it's really just 3 fights. So yeah, the first one is the Knight. Looks cool, feels good to fight, dies in 2 seconds. Kinda my fault here, but still. Next up is the Snake. Wait, it was a dragon? Anyways, a lot more annoying to fight, especially because of these spinning wheels of death. And my 1 HP, I have no idea how I survived that. And then finally the big thing. I don't know what that is, but it's cool to look at. Plus the Toy Maker's commentary is godlike.
You have no appreciation for the art of acting! Ooh, where did you go? I will teach you method acting!
This guy could have done cooler moves like this one, but chose not to, and the last phase is just so bare bones that it is hard to call it a phase. The only thing that you do is pretty much shoot fireballs until he drops, and then you beat that meat, rinse repeat while he does one stomp attack. Quantity over quality again, but it works for this fight because the whole package is great. Not amazing, but it gave me dopamine. Number 2, Victor Belmont. A favorite, maybe for this reason. Yeah, I know a lot of people replayed that in the All Bosses vid. Now in the first phase, Victor Belmont can pretty much do what you can, which also means parrying, and also this one move, but you can do him better, which pisses him off, so he punches a hole in the ground, which leaves the both of you in this cool looking arena. When he starts doing this move, which pretty much became necessary for half the bosses to have, and I just realized that yeah, I can just dodge the second one pretty easily. So I guess I take back that BS I said in the Satan's daughter section, but she's still not going any higher up. You can also form this shield around him, which you can do as well for 10,000 experience points if you're up for it.
I will not fail in my mission.
So cool. He can also do this real cool fire attack. I think he just pretty much hits the oil on the ground so that it does this, and that's not it. He also has this really cool ground pound attack. Like, what doesn't this guy have? This guy even has a second phase, which is very bare bones. Like, he can do one attack, which is a cool attack, but still I hung back a little in this phase to see if he could do anything else, but nope. So yeah, that's it. He's a chill dude as well, considering he gave his life for us, and in my opinion the top 2 are another level. So they both are amazing, but number 1 really blew my expectations to shreds. Do you guys remember how before games like God of War, Devil May Cry and Resident Evil 4, bosses acted as a teaching tool when the players got a new ability and whatnot? It was more like a final exam more times than not. For example, the Legend of Zelda games, it does very often. So the Gorgons are pretty much that for your Chaos Claws. But not only do they test your ability to use Chaos Claws effectively, they do the same for the Void Sword, jump attacks of your whip, and also platforming. And then in the end, expects you to perform a combination of all 3 of them. So the Gorgons are pretty much the purest form of a boss in a game like Castlevania. They provide a spectacle and a challenge, and it is surprising how few and far between bosses like that are. especially after the Dark Souls conundrum, but hey, let's appreciate this boss before bitching about other bosses. The Gorgons get progressively more difficult as you lose heads and gain new moves. After the first head disappears, she gains the ability to turn Dracul into stone. After she loses the second head, she gains the ability to breathe fire. That was not expected, but you can counter that by giving her a taste of your Void Sword, literally. And that did so much fucking damage that the boss just straight up ended. Also, this execution is cool like a lot of bosses in the game. In my opinion, generally speaking, she's not 9 out of 10 boss, considering bosses of God of War 3 exist, which in my opinion are not 10 out of 10, but in context of this game, Gorgons pretty much use every single mechanic to its max potential, except the double jump and miss, which made me hope a boss like this would show up in the end, but alas. Still, an amazing fight and a great game. I highly recommend both Lords of Shadows games if you have a controller. And that's it for the video. If you liked the video, hit the like button so more people can discover this video. And I'll be doing Lollipop Chainsaw or Ultra Kill next. Will take me around 3 weeks. So until then, see ya.